I think that our country has been infiltrated, not by foreigners, by our own people, who should not be in certain institutions, but they are actually sitting in those institutions.
But the president has allowed them to do that.
That's right, and that's what I'm saying. Right from how he started the, bottom-up economy, promising the hustler nation and saying we will deal with Mama Mboga and everything, that's good. Really, the intentions could be good. But you're going to tell Mama Mboga to come into the office and start managing an economic policy that she is passionate about but doesn't understand the intricate details that will actually go along in implementing the blueprint. So this is where the problem is. The leadership philosophy of the president, first and foremost, is that he can help friends. It doesn't matter how you look at it. If he's his friend, he's his friend. And it's a stark contrast when you look at Kibaki and Moi, for example, where when Moi used to say, you might be my friend, but leadership is a different story. So this is where the problem is. I mean, I think very many people, including perhaps, we can use the word criminals sparingly, because it's not everybody, have actually infiltrated the government and are trying to run people. And when a thief goes to office, for example, he simply ensures that everything goes to him. Nobody else comes across the national cake or resources. And I think this is where the problem is. So when you see people carrying batons and calling on a governor of Nairobi, for example, calling his name, I mean, that is not conclusive evidence of anything, but why are they using your name? These are not the kind of people who can implement a policy. These are people who have been given a few shillings
and
to come in the street and start shouting your name and soil your name first and foremost. But if it is true that you have any knowledge about these kind of people, then who is in office? So really, who are we? Who is guarding us, Fred? Is it the leaders we have elected and those appointed and nominated to do something by the executive and other arms of government, or it is their henchmen, their other, I don't want to say minions, but there are other people, who they are using to terrorize the citizens.
Just before you came in, I'd asked Bwana Nabwera this question about how we handled the issues that happened last year. In next 1 week, we'll be marking 1 year since the events of June 25th, that probably we left so many things unattended. Obvious criminality, a breakdown of the rule of law without any proper probe or conclusive issue. And that is what we are seeing now, that it can keep erupting over and over until the day we get close to what happened last year. Do you think that is what we could be suffering from as a country?
But you see also, Murkomen, the Minister for Internal Security, came up and said the similar things. And I remember the former President Uhuru Kenyatta put it very clear, and Raila has been talking about it, that if we do not deal with the issue of youth ballooning and becoming many without employment, then we are actually causing a bigger problem. So, yes, it also started from independence. I mean, there was corruption and there was killing of people. I mean, you are talking about Tom Mboya and Kimathi and Kariuki, all these people in the past. Killings have always been there. The problem is today they are opening in broad daylight. So it is, I think, a problem that has actually
But in those cases that you mentioned, even the killing of Robert Ouko, eventually there was a probe. I think the one led by Justice Gicheru.
Yes, sure.
That probably led the country to some sort of closure or to some sort of conclusion that this issue tumefikisha mahali hapa. But the events of last year, we do not have,
and you see,
appear to be.
And you see, Fred, the reason why there was such commissions being appointed is because probably the head of state then was desirous. He knew probably that the people around me are doing such a thing, but he was desirous of ending that. He did not pay attention to friendship. He did not pay attention to you come from my region or something like that. He was clear that in order to run a country, we must go this way. And we are lacking that, to be honest. I mean, if anybody is advising the president clearly, apart from coming and speaking a few words and saying, I am not going to listen to this or that, hawa wanatuambia hivi, I'm not going to hand over power. This talk can be limited to some boardroom discussions. But when you come out to the people, you want to give everybody hope that I want to take this nation forward. When Uhuru Kenyatta last year, in 2022, when he said, if I am defeated, I will hand over power. That is a hope you are giving to people that we are in political fights, competition. If I win, I will be given my position. When you give people this kind of talk that I will not hand over power, you are literally discouraging the nation. That is not the spirit of Kenya. We have been in this country for so long, Fred, and people have not gone to, the South Sudan way, the Uganda way, where governments have to be taken by force. People respect, in fact, many Kenyans respect peace. Our military respects peace. That is why, despite all this, you see the anarchy in the street, we still come back in the evening and pray and say, we want our country. But when you take the country towards these extremes, where you allow people who have not just questionable characters, but people who don't understand actually. Somebody doesn't understand about a docket, and you give him the docket, and he keeps telling us things which are miraculously awkward. He says something, he thinks it's really making sense. It is not making sense. So this is where the problem is, and I think that the way, like you said, the way to resolve these long-standing disputes, first of all, inclusivity is very important. Inclusivity is not saying, Raila, let's join hands together. From last year, like you said, inclusivity was to attend to the Gen Z, attend to the youth, attend the issue of how do you cushion youth from this unnecessary tax. Yes, put tax.